Hello everyone, I am Shyam and welcome to this new video of management case study interview. The purpose of this video is to give you an understanding of how a management case study interview goes and what is expected of you. This video is divided into two parts. In the first part, we'll be going through the interview and analyze it as we go along. In the second part, we'll analyze the interview as a whole and figure out what went well and how was the interview structured. For context, all the black text with blue background you see is the statement of the interviewer, and the blue text with white background you see is the statement of the candidate. Today we are doing a case study interview where a client is a HBS at Harvard Business School, and it's a case study of market entry. Let's begin. HBS wants to set up a new satellite campus in India. They want your advice about the proposal. So the first statement told by the interviewer is the most important because it tells you the scope of the interview. So from this, we know that HBS wants to set up a new campus in India and they want our advice for this proposal. So a market entry interview is divided into three parts. In the first part, you try to understand the company's objective and goal. In the second part, you analyze the potential for that company in terms of capital and feasibility. And then the third party provides suggestions and recommendations generally. But it's also a market entry question is also very much dependent on the interviewer in which direction he wants to take. He might tell you to market size it in some of the areas. He might tell you to uh, calculate the cost needed to launch it or some other way. It might not be very structured, but generally that is the structure. Uh, okay, what is the primary objective of this? Uh, what is the primary objective of the school in setting up a new campus? The mission of HBS is to educate leaders who make difference in the world. They want to increase their impact. So their mission is to educate leaders who make a difference, and their main focus is they want to increase their impact in doing so. So is it safe to assume that the target audience would be young Indians? Actually, that's a bad assumption because they are looking for leaders, and young Indians might not be a ideal candidate for leaders. It comes with more of experience. Actually, that's a bad assumption. It so happens that HBS wants this campus to be international, like the one in Boston. Having said that, the college does expect the proportion of Indians in the batch to increase. Okay, so what is HBS? My bad. HBS wants their campus to be international, like the one in Boston. That is one of their goals. Having said that, the college does expect the proportion of Indians in the batch to increase. So that is their expectations that they're expecting that it will increase of Indians in their batch. The motivation would be to expand the current capacity of the program in that case, and also what is the timeline they are aiming to set up the campus. So two of the very important questions. So first of all, you're understanding what is the timeline they want, and you're stating that their motivation is to increase the current capacity, which the interview told in the last statement. That is correct, and they want to set it up in 5 years. So you have a timeline also now. To evaluate the market entry, I would want to look at aspects under the three major heads: opportunity analysis, feasibility, and viability. Okay. In opportunity analysis, I would look at the market size and the market share that we can capture. In feasibility, I would analyze the barriers to entry. My bad. Okay. We'll analyze the barriers to entry and analyze the feasibility of setting up the value chain. In viability, I would analyze if it would make economic sense in long term and see the risks. So we have all the 3 points. So the candidate is divided into opportunity, feasibility, and viability. In opportunity, you do understand the market size and market share which HBS can capture in India. In feasibility, since it's a foreign school, you have to understand what there might be some regulations too, but also you have to understand what are the initial barriers to entry, uh, and how would you set up the whole value chain. And in viability, you understand, does it make economic sense, and what are the risks involved in setting this up. To do this, I would look at the current demand of for HPS course, okay, and would use that to estimate the demand for the new campus. So you look at the current demands. As far as I know, I believe top US schools like HBS receives around 10K applications every year for their MBA program. Those would automatically be a target market. However, I believe a proportion of them would not be interested in studying at Indian campus due to the preference of for the US markets. Do we have some data for this preference? So you have a starting point that you have 10K applications. You're trying to understand how what would be the market size for this um, campus. So you have 10 applications, but most people will not be preferring India as they prefer the US campus. And then we need to look at the data to figure out go deep in this 10K application. So what would be the Indian market size? That's a good approach. Let's assume 50% of the applicants are interested in studying at the Indian campus as well. um, we can estimate the rough can you estimate the rough size? Ignore affordability as a concern for now. So let's assume everybody who's applying can afford to study here, so you can ignore that, and then we have to estimate the rough market size. I just want to add that I would also want to look at additional Indian students that we can capture because of the lower cost of this program, while the as compared to the Boston one. I will use the CAT enrollments as a proxy for estimating the demand. So around 2 lakh students apply for CAT. Okay, that's a good approach. 2 lakh students apply for CAT for their MBA. Let's assume 1% would meet HBS criteria. So around 2,000 students. This means that the market is significant. However, the competition is another factor that I would want to look at. Can you give me some information about the competitive scenario? Okay. The satellite campus would face competition from primarily two sources. One would be global schools. Bad. One would be global schools setting up campuses in India, and currently that is not a potent threat. Another would be IIMs and ISPs, which are the high-ranked management schools in India. I believe HBS would have an edge over Indian schools as a global exposure, and the brand value that it would offer would give it a clear competitive advantage. Uh, However, I would like to look at feasibility. The factors I would look are the regulatory barriers and the feasibility establishing the value chain. For that, I would want to know if there are any regulatory restrictions in India. Okay, so we have clearly defined that HPS would have an edge over Indian schools as it gives a global exposure and has a brand value, which is a clear advantage. So we are moving on to the second part, which is feasibility, and we are trying to understand what are the regulatory barriers and what is the value chain of setting this up. The regulations in India prevent any institution that is not AICTE approved from giving a degree. Compliance with AICTE guideline would dilute the HBS curriculum. Okay. In that case, HBS would not go for the AICTE approval. I wouldn't, it wouldn't be able to offer the degree, but I don't think that will be a constraint. ISB has similar model and is successful. The other factor would be the ability to set up the value chain. The key facets would be the teachers and the land for the campus. Initially, teachers might need to travel from parent campus, the rent for the campus would be the challenge and would increase cost. Okay, so a lot of information here. So we have clearly defined that HBS would not go for AICT because they don't want to dilute their curriculum. S- mm, Okay, my bad. There's always trouble this side highlighting. Let's try. No, no. So let's just use highlighter. So we have clearly defined that HBS will not go for AICTC approval as it will dilute their curriculum and they don't want to do that. But it's not a concern because there are other successful schools who have done this. Uh, Moving on to the second part, which is infeasibility, which is the value chain. We there are two factors which will affect the value chain is first of all land for the campus and the teachers. Teachers might have to come from the parent campus initially to promote or to make HBS look like a very global, almost the same level of education offered in the main campus. And the rent would be the challenge at it will be the initial cost, but that won't be that big of a challenge for HBS, I suppose. Yeah. Good. What else do you want to look at? I would next look at viability. In terms of financial viability, I'm assuming pricing will remain the same as the parent campus to maintain parity. However, the additional cost due to the land and teacher travel would drive up costs. Additionally, there would be risks due to the lack of acceptance of India as study destination among the international students. So, uh, ex- uh, lack of acceptance of India is also one of the concerns. Hence, I would suggest against the proposal. Thanks. That would be all. Thank you. Thank you. It would be a pleasure interacting. It was a pleasure interacting. So that was the case where the candidate first of all categorized into different parts and then went deep into to just naming how would you analyze it rather than going deep and calculating the sizes. So let's go to the second part of the interview where we can analyze the interview how the candidate performed. Okay, so maintaining a very good notes is very important because at the end of the interview, the interviewer will ask for your notes, and he should be able to understand everything in one go, and he should get an idea that you are thinking in a very structured manner from your notes. Interview notes. Expand capacity of MBA programs. Timeline is 5 years, 10,000 applicants, and CAT is also a benchmark. So exactly what exactly was the objective of the company? Um, Case facts: 50% interested in studying in India, and AICTE approval is needed. How? Let's go move on to the very important part of your notes, which is the structure of the interview. So initially, you have external like an external institution setting up in India. Then you Okay, then you look at the which is opportunity, feasibility, and viability. Opportunity is divided into market size and market share. Market size is there are existing 50% uh, of total applicants of HBS who will be interested to study in India, which is 5,000. Additional 2,000 candidates of CAT would be eligible for the HBS school. Market share is you calculate how many global schools are interested to launch in India and how other Indian schools are doing and how much share you can capture from them. Invisibility barriers, you have regulatory barriers and value chain. Value chain, you have teachers travel and the land, and regulatory barriers, you need to have an approval. So how do you go forward with the approval? In viability, you have financial viability and other risk. In financial viability, we have analyzed the pricing and the cost. Other risks we have not gone into. This is how the candidate has structured the interview. This was pretty exhaustive. In terms of in an overall picture, you understand what will be the initial challenges and benefit of launching in India, and then the candidate gave a suggestion to not launch in India. Okay, recommendations. Uh, should not go ahead with the satellite campus. Serious concerns about viability of operations considering high cost and uncertainty of regulations. Key learning. It is best to not lose sight of the structure in quest for creativity. That is what the candidate achieved in this case. So he initially divided into three parts, and the more the interview proceeded, he went deeper in these three parts as well. So very important not to lose sight of structure in the quest for creativity. Note that the interviewer will try to gauge your perspective on all the aspect, hence always broadly talk to walk interview through the structure. Okay. Um, I think pretty self-explanatory. During estimates, always advisable to do sanity checks using comparable for quick analysis, impressive interview. So sanity checks are always something which the interviewer is interview which which will give you brownie points from the interviewer because it tells you that you're not just assuming and going with it, and you're actually backtracking it to figure out that whatever numbers you're coming up is realistic. So that was the interview. The candidate did pretty well. I hope you guys learned a lot from it. If you have a case study interview coming up, all the best. If you're looking to build a career in consulting, do follow my channel because I'll be uploading different case studies of different industries, which will give you an idea of how to navigate case study interviews. And it will also give you knowledge of different industries, which will make you confident to not worry whatever case study is thrown at you. So with that, I would like to thank you for watching the video till the end and have a nice day.